Picture the world in the year 1700. There are no airplanes, no cars, no instant communication. Empires rise and fall at the speed of horses and wooden ships. Now, ask yourself an impossible question. How did a small, rainy island barely visible on most maps come to rule 1/4 of the entire planet? Not a continent, not a vast land empire like Rome or Mongolia. Just an island. At its peak, the British Empire controlled lands, stretching from Canada to India, from the Caribbean to Australia, from African deserts to Pacific islands. It ruled over 1/4 of the world's population. And it all began, not with kings, not with armies, but with merchants, men chasing spices. This is the story of how trade became conquest, how profit became power, and how a company became an empire. In the 15th century, England was nothing special. It had no vast resources like China, no legendary armies like the Ottomans, no ancient glory like Rome. It was cold, often poor, and constantly fighting itself. Meanwhile, the real powers of the world were elsewhere. Spain controlled the Americas. Portugal dominated the sea routes. The Mughal Empire ruled India, the richest region on earth. China produced silk, porcelain, and knowledge that Europe desperately wanted. England was late to everything. But England had one hidden advantage. The sea. Being an island meant safety. Invasions were difficult. Naval power mattered more than land armies. Slowly, England invested in ships, better navigation, and stronger cannons. And most importantly, a new idea was forming. What if wealth didn't come from land, but from trade? On December 31st, 1600, Queen Elizabeth I signed a single, harmless-looking document. It was a charter, granting permission to a group of merchants to trade with the East. They called themselves the East India Company. At first, they were nobody. They had no army, no territory, no power, just ships and ambition. Their goal was simple: spices, pepper, silk, and tea. Europe was addicted to Asian goods, and whoever controlled that trade controlled wealth. The East India Company began by setting up trading posts. They paid local rulers. They followed local laws. They bowed. But quietly, they learned. They studied politics. They studied rivalries. They studied weaknesses. And when opportunity came, they changed everything. By the 1700s, India was not weak. The Mughal Empire was wealthy beyond imagination. Its cities outshone London, but it was divided. Local rulers fought each other. Succession wars never ended. The East India Company didn't conquer India. India collapsed into them. The company offered money, weapons, and soldiers. In return, they demanded influence. Then came the turning point. The Battle of Plassey in 1757. A small company army defeated a massive Indian force, not through strength, but through betrayal. The East India Company bribed commanders, turned ediles, and bought victory. After Plassey, the company transformed. It stopped being a trader. It became a ruler. It collected taxes, controlled courts, and ran cities, and it raised a private army. By 1800, the East India Company commanded over 200,000 soldiers, twice the size of Britain's own national army, a corporation with more firepower than most nations. While India generated wealth, the Atlantic created profit. Sugar was the oil of the 18th century, and the Caribbean was its factory. British plantations produced unimaginable riches, but sugar required brutal labor. So, Britain turned to the slave trade. Millions of Africans were captured, sold, and transported across the Atlantic. This was not accidental. It was organized, financed, and insured by British banks, British ships, and British investors. The profits built ports like Liverpool, funded factories, and financed railways. Slavery wasn't a side story. It was the fuel for the imperial machine. Then came the revolution that changed everything. The Industrial Revolution. Steam engines replaced muscle. Factories replaced workshops. Britain could now produce more weapons, more ships, and more goods, all cheaper and faster. While others fought with tradition, Britain fought with machines. Steamships ignored the wind. Railways moved armies, and telegraphs sent orders instantly. Empire became efficient. Conquest became mechanical. By the 19th century, Britain was everywhere. Canada, India, Australia, Africa, the Middle East. The famous phrase was born. The sun never sets on the British Empire, because somewhere on the globe, Britain was always ruling. Red covered the maps, but control was fragile. Rebellions erupted. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 shook the empire to its core. The East India Company was dissolved, and the British Crown took direct control. The empire survived, but cracks had formed. Empire brought railways, law, and education. But it also brought famine, exploitation, and cultural destruction. India paid for British wars. Colonies fed British factories. Wealth flowed in one direction. Resistance grew stronger. 2 world wars drained Britain. The empire was too large, too expensive, too old to maintain. Colonies demanded independence. India broke free in 1947. Africa followed. The sun, at long last, finally set. Britain didn't rule the world because it was the strongest. It ruled because it was strategic, adaptive, and ruthless. It mastered trade, technology, and timing, and it proved one terrifying truth. You don't need to be big to rule the world. You just need to control the system. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history.